Hello, my name is Donald Mason and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will show you some secrets about the Auxiliary Diminished Blues mode. Let's start with the name. Why did Russell give this scale such a long name which has 12 syllables and is so difficult to pronounce? Well, first of all, we should understand that when people come up with a new concept, a new theory, or a new invention, they sometimes also come up with new names to go with their theories. I'm not saying that Russell invented this scale, because he did not. This scale already existed under the name of half-whole diminished, because that's what it is literally. That's how you play it. Half step, whole step, half step, whole step, until you get to the octave. Russell did not say why he used the name in his book, but when we understand the theory, we can understand why. For example, in language, an auxiliary verb is a verb which is there to help. It is not the main verb. And we know that language and music belong to the same cognitive system. That is, the brain has to go through the same operations to learn them and to use them. Language and music are not intellectual products. They are neurobiological products. Anyway, that's a topic for another video. An auxiliary of anything simply means a helper of that thing. The word auxiliary comes from the Latin root auxiliaris auxilium, which means a helper. And from the same family of words, we have the word auhere, which means to augment or to increase. That simply means that the auxiliary augmented is a helper of the Lydian augmented. On the contrary, to diminish means to make something smaller. So, in the case of diminished scales and chords, you have to make some notes smaller. That means you have to flatten the third, the fifth, and the seventh. So, according to George Russell, the auxiliary diminished and auxiliary diminished blues are helpers of the Lydian diminished. Because of the 7 Lydian scales, these are the only scales with a flat 3, which is the diminished identity, and a sharp 4, which is the Lydian identity. And a sharp 4 is a flat 5. All 3 scales have either a flat 7 or a 7 flat 9. So everything makes sense. So the name Auxiliary Diminished Blues simply means a scale with a lot of diminished notes which can be used to give more color to any blues scale. The Auxiliary Diminished Blues has 2 notes which are not present in the blues scale, C sharp and E. These 2 extra notes give the scale an exotic flavor. So if you are fed up with playing the pentatonic scale, the regular blues scale, it will give a lot more color to your music. And it's good not only for playing the blues, you can use it for jazz, you can use it for classical music, you can use it for reggae, you can use it for African music, pop, rock, metal, or you can use it whatever way you wish. Because the Lydian theory is not about jazz, it's about the behavior of sound itself. Gravity does not only affect planets, it affects everything, including light and sound. The Lydian theory is really the theory of relativity in music. Just like Einstein's theory, which is about the relationship between gravity, space, and time. If Einstein was alive, he would have understood the theory immediately. Many of my students didn't even know that Einstein was a musician until they came to my class. Let's see what this has to do with the Auxiliary Diminished Blues scale. This scale comes from the mother of all scales, the chromatic scale. It introduces the 12th tone of the Lydian chromatic scale, which is D flat in the key of C. D flat is the last, most distant and most dissonant interval in relation to its Lydian tonic. Try playing C and D flat at the same time and tell me how it sounds in the comment section. Remember that of all the 7 scales, the Auxiliary Diminished Blues is the only one which carries the note D flat. So D flat is not happy in C Lydian and wants to go somewhere else. It wants to go to the next fundamental, which is G. This is where gravity comes in, because D flat is being pulled by the gravity of G, its Lydian tonic. The same thing happens in space. If you get too close to a planet, its gravity will pull you in. And what happens to D flat in G Lydian? Well, it passes from being the least important note in C Lydian to the most important note in G Lydian, the sharp 4, the note which gives G its Lydian identity. It becomes the tritone of G. On the cycle of fifths, a tritone is found exactly opposite its Lydian tonic. In C Lydian, F sharp or G flat is the tritone, and F sharp is present in all of the 7 Lydian scales. In G Lydian, D flat will be present in all 7 scales. One last secret of the auxiliary diminished blues. Until you are able to figure out the chords in this section, you can just replace them with a simple diminished 7th chord, which means you can play the auxiliary diminished blues over any of these chords and it will sound nice. You can start the scale on any degree and you can play over any of these diminished chords and it will sound beautiful. This is because there are only 3 diminished scales, and diminished chords are like portals or stargate or wormholes. They can take you anywhere if you know the coordinates. That is, if you know how to use them. If you find this video useful, then please subscribe so you won't miss any of my videos. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.